Hi there. Welcome to the Health Analytic Insights Podcast. This podcast is all about creating a community of like-minded individuals who are passionate about the field of health informatics. I hope to share information and advice in topics such as health analytics, digital health, biomedical engineering, and data visualization in healthcare. And in exchange, I would love to hear from you, dear listener, about your experience and interest in this field. You can drop me a line at HealthAnalyticInsights@gmail.com, and this email, along with any references discussed during this podcast, will be listed in the show notes below. If this resonates with you, don't forget to follow and subscribe to this podcast, as I'll be releasing new episodes bi-weekly. Before we jump into the episode, I want to let you know that I've written a step-by-step guide to help you through the process of securing your first role in health informatics by providing you with concrete examples of what roles to search for, common skills requested by employers, example interview questions, and much more. If this is of interest to you, you can check out the show notes of the episode where I have a link to the ebook below. Now, let's get back into the episode. So data cleansing and manipulation is an area where many analysts, whether they work in healthcare, finance, hospitality, will focus most of their time. But specifically, missing data is quite prevalent in the healthcare system and can stem from a variety of reasons, from issues with medical equipment, to interruptions when collecting vital signs, to survey respondents not wanting to fill out sensitive healthcare questions. So if we want to be able to carry out advanced analytics in the health informatics field on our data, the ability to deal with missing data in healthcare is a real problem to solve. So on this episode of the podcast, I wanted to go over 3 common types of missing data and the reasons for them, and how you might deal with it as a healthcare data analyst. So although there are various imputation methods, using tools such as R, SAS, or Python, and there are many different packages or libraries that you can use to fill in, essentially, this missing data. This takes a very hands-off approach, and it's really important to understand why the data is missing in the first place, so you can choose the right imputation method for your data. So as I said before, missing data can be very varied when it comes to the healthcare field. It might be missing due to interoperability issues between transferring over the data from a lab to an electronic health record system, or the data not being pre-populated into the system, or there being data entry issues for clinicians entering in the data. And in some situations, these cases might be solved by investigating the Health Level 7 standard for sending this clinical information. But sometimes there's no getting around missing data in your clinical data set. So therefore, a deep dive into the main cause for this missing data is key. Is it due to lack of incentives for filling in surveys? Is your system having issues uploading the correctly formatted clinical data from external sites such as labs? So really taking the time to sit down and analyzing how you might want to redesign your survey study, or analyzing how you might want to even redesign your software system, is really key to helping to mitigate high levels of missing data. So saying all this, I wanted to talk about the 3 main types of ways to categorize missing data and guide you on how you can deal with this missing data. So the first category of missing data I want to talk about is missing completely at random. So imagine you have your trusty Fitbit that you use religiously every day to get to that gold standard of 10,000 steps. And you like to collect the data from your Fitbit and create graphs to track your progress over time, so you can rub it in your family's face. One day you examine your graphs and you notice gaps in the data. It seems like your Fitbit stopped working randomly and didn't collect data on that day. So this would be an example of missing data that is missing completely at random. Missing completely at random is defined as data whose absence occurs independent of the observed and or unobserved values. So when the probability that the data is missing is the same for all features in the dataset, For example, no blood pressure equipment to measure heart rate. This would fall under the category of missing completely at random. Continuing on with this Fitbit example, another category of missing data is called missing at random. So imagine that it's necessary for you to charge your Fitbit every night so it works in the day. But the cord is so far away from your bed and you just can't get up. So you forget to charge it. And every morning you notice on your graph, your Fitbit doesn't start collecting data until 11 a.m. after you charge it during the morning. So this would be an example of missing at random. So missing at random occurs when the reason for the missing data point can be deduced. So you're too lazy to get your Fitbit charged because the cord was too far, by the observed values only and are not related to unobserved values. So when the probability that the data is missing is dependent on observed data, so for example, a study on blood pressure, data on young people are less likely to be recorded in comparison to older individuals because they do not attend clinics as often. This would fall under the category of missing at random. And so when it comes to filling in or imputing missing data, oftentimes these imputation methods work best with missing data that's missing completely at random or missing at random. So during my master's degree, I did work on predicting preterm birth using machine learning techniques. And I used clinical data sets that were based on survey data set and data that was collected from individuals across Ontario. And there was missing data in these data sets that I analyzed, and the majority of this missing data fell under missing completely at random or missing at random. And so I was able to use packages and libraries in R, such as Miss Forest and Mice, to fill in the missing data. So then I could use machine learning classifiers to carry out these prediction models. But I really had to sit down and understand why the data was missing, because oftentimes these imputation methods don't work as well with the third type of missing data that I'm going to talk about, which is missing not at random. And then continuing on with this Fitbit example, imagine you made a bet with your friend that you would only walk with them, but you still want to get your steps in. So you go behind their back and leave your Fitbit at home so they won't find out. This would be an example of missing data that is missing not at random, when there's an explanation as to why the data is missing. By getting a sense of if your missing data is missing completely at random, or missing not at random, again, missing not at random is when the probability that the data that is missing is dependent on data that has not been observed. So individuals with lower incomes might be less likely to fill out information related to income. This represents not missing at random. So understanding why your data is missing is key. One, knowing to just delete the missing data if it makes sense in comparison. So if you have really, really high missingness, over 50%, it might make sense to just delete a certain feature based on the size of your data set. Or it might make sense to use imputation methods in R or Python or SAS. So I hope this overview have given you some considerations to think about when it comes to when you encounter missing data in healthcare and how to deal with it as an analyst effectively. Let me know, what techniques have you used to deal with missing data in your analysis? You can drop me a line at HealthAnalyticInsights@gmail.com.